وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
I am Dr Atef Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Good morning. I'm Atef Gawad reporting from Washington, D.C. What's happening in Yemen? To answer the question and discuss the implications for the Middle East, we have with us a panel of distinguished experts. Dr. Fahd Al-Khariji, a media professor at King Saud University. He will be talking to us from Saudi Arabia. Mr. Hamza Alshargabi, a medical doctor whose humanitarian work has taken him all over Yemen. He will be talking to us from Michigan. And Mr. Ibrahim Qatabi, co-founder of the Yemeni American Coalition for Change. And he will be talking to us from Michigan also. And let me start with Dr. Fahd Al-Khariji because I know he will be staying with us only for a few minutes. Dr. Khariji, can you please explain to us why Saudi Arabia had to launch its air campaign in Yemen? Dr. Khariji, can you hear me?
Doctor, we had him on. We're gonna try to find out.
Okay,
yeah,
let's switch to turn to our other guests. And I'm going to ask the two of you, gentlemen, to tell me what's happening in Yemen from your own point of view. Let's start with Mr. Shargabi.
Currently, the Saudi forces are striking the Houthi Saleh alliance to cripple them from being able to disrupt the movement through Bab al-Mandab. To me, I'm not sure how is this being handled in the media or how this is being handled militarily, but to me, looking at the context, this is the primary target of primary goal of this campaign. And the other face of the coin, the Houthis, although they are complaining a lot about the effects of the air raids across the north, they are fighting in the south. They're attacking Aden, they're attacking civilians in Aden, Salah, and they're attacking them viciously. The amount of atrocities that has been made in the past week is unmatched. So what we're seeing here is just a race to control Bab al-Mandab. The Houthis decided to make an alliance with Ali Saleh. Ali Saleh has been controlling the country for the past 3 decades. And he built his own personal army of sorts, the Republican Guard, and unfortunately, those forces are trained by NATO officers and equipped by U.S.-made weapons.
Mr. Qatabi?
Yeah, first of all, assalamu alaikum, and thanks for having me. my thoughts and prayers are with the families and friends in Yemen at this, this devastating time. I think basically what's happening in Yemen today mainly began in 2011 when the uprising Yemenis went into the streets of Yemen across the country, protesting against a dictator, former President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who ruled the country for about 33 years and looted the whole entire nation for himself and his family and his loyalists. Then, like I said, and Yemen was part of the Arab Spring. People protested, and as a result, the Gulf countries came forward, led by the Saudis, basically brokered a deal between Saleh, the opposition, and the political opposition. And as a result, Saleh and his entire regime was given immunity and asked to leave power, which he did, but not completely was out of the political life. So he was able to stay on top or the head of his own political party, which was the largest in Yemen and is the most resourceful. And then, so as a result of the GCC initiative, which is the agreement that Saleh signed, and it was brokered, like I said, by the Gulf countries, he again participated in the political life. Yemenis then elected or basically selected the current president, Abdurrabbi Mansour Hadi, which is from the south. And also, just to mention that this is the first southern president in Yemen since, the entire Yemen since 1,000 years ago, because we always controlled by a small group from the north part of Yemen. So as a result of the initiative that was signed, people from across the country came. The UN was part of the dialogue and assistance, the Yemeni coming together, and there was an exclusive, what they call national dialogue, where every political group, civil society, different movements were part of a given seats at the national dialogue, which was about 500 seats, women included, and youth. And they had to basically put together a recommendation and build in a new state, and to draft a new constitution, and basically the new drafting of almost everything, built in a new state, setting up new guidelines, a new constitution, new recommendation, had to build a new federal system in Yemen, which every group or every region has some sort of autonomy over their own areas, and have a way to basically distribute wealth and power among people without keeping it centralized, because the current system that exists in Yemen is mainly extremely centralized, where everything is at the hand of one group and one president, and everything is centralized in the capital city, in Sana'a, but leaving everyone else with basically nothing. And as a result, after that, the dialogue came up with an outcome, and then at the time when everyone is supposed to start implementing the outcome, Saleh, who kept an eye and basically returning to power, he at the first place wanted to put his son as a president. He was planning to do it in the next election, basically before he was overthrown by the people. And so he worked with a group called Al-Houthi, mainly a sectarian militia that always use force and violence to gain power. That's a small northern group, and then all the way in the northern part of the country. And this the group that Saleh himself declared 6 wars against, I think, starting 2004 or 2006 all the way up to 2010. Anyway, he was using them to scare the Saudis because they're from a different group, and he would help facilitate some training between them and Iran, because he thought somehow when we had Yemen had some sort of a porters dispute with Saudi Arabia, that they going to he's going to scare Saudis with them. But they, and then they got out of hand. They basically became sort of an organized armed group. So they also...
Mr. Qatabi, let
yes.
me just...
I just trying to give you a whole background so people can understand exactly what's happening. And anyway, so it led to today, Houthis were part of the national dialogue. Then Saleh used them to basically...
We are going to discuss all that in a minute. Let me just... I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are joined now by Dr. Fahd Al-Khariji from Saudi Arabia. He's a media professor at King Saud University. I will get back to you, Mr. Qatabi, in a second. Dr. Khariji, would you please explain to us why did Saudi Arabia have to use to launch its air campaign in Yemen?
Thanks for you and for your audience. First of all, and I want to apologize if my sound is not clear because I'm using the mobile. The question actually in regard to why Saudi Arabia started or launched the campaign this time and not before. This is a good question, because if we ask ourselves that Saudi Arabia is patient to the degree that it gave Ali, Saleh and Al-Houthi all the time to come to terms with all Yemenis and not to be connected or be directed by Iranian ambitions region. Sadly, Saudi Arabia did not get that, and I'm sure that Saudi Arabia, they are not going for a holiday or trip when they launch the campaign. They know that it will cost the people of Saudi Arabia, it will cost the government, the economy, the effort. Therefore, what we are doing actually to correct what has been done, or to correct the damage which has been done by Ali Saleh, who actually hated to be extracted from the government because of his deeds. The Yemen, everybody knows the Yemenis are the poorest people in the earth. And the Yemenis were suffering and are still suffering the damages which has been, everybody know that and can notice. We have children who are dehydrated, who have malnutrition, and many troublesome in that area. The Yemenis are our brothers, and we cannot stand to allow the ambition of Iranian, because Iran, they looked only to they want to expand. They want to be the police of the region. They don't want to be the peaceful man and who are sharing the region, the resources and the effort to build, not to destruct. That's why Saudi Arabia came to the final stage that there is no choice but to go and to hit hard those extremists who are trying to raise the sectarian religion. Because we know that for a long time, the Shiites and the Sunni, they were living together for a long time. And there was no trouble, except when the Khomeini revolution came to the earth. And they started to invade many places by their money, by their ideology. and by their hatred. That's why we refuse this feeling, even though the West sometimes they think that Iranian is good for them, but for us, they are not good for us.
Okay, Dr. Khariji, does that mean the process for a political reconciliation in Yemen is dead?
Can you repeat please the question?
Yes. Do you think there are no prospects for political reconciliation in Yemen?
Okay. Yes. To be frank, when Saudi Arabia started the campaign with the Islamic world and Arab in the Gulf states, they determined that it will be a non-stop campaign. It will be non-stop campaign.
For calls to the United States and Canada, please dial 1 before the air.
Sorry, doctor, we lost him. We're going to get him and we're going to get to a quick commercial break, and we will be back with our guest.
Jumana Keyrus. You've seen her images on giant billboards across the metro. Jumana Keyrus. You've seen her images on buses across the city. Now get to know Jumana Keyrus.
Most people who sit in my office across from my desk are hurting on so many levels. One thing people do not know about medical malpractice is that the statute of limitation, meaning the time that you have to bring suit against a doctor, a hospital, is 2 years. In medical malpractice, that's a very, very short period of time. Not every lawyer is an advocate, but every lawyer should be an advocate.
Let Jumana Keyrus protect your rights. Call the law offices of Jumana Keyrus at 1-866-YOUR-RIGHTS, extension 100, or visit yourrights.com.
Life for Relief and Development is a nonprofit charity that has been providing humanitarian aid and development to people and communities regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background for over 22 years. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life rushes to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Life also has development projects that provide medical relief, water purification, educational programs, relief for orphans, and much more. Your help and support can greatly improve these efforts. All donations are tax deductible. For more information, please visit our website at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's lifeusa.org, 248-424-7493.
I am Atef Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNZK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion. We are talking about the situation in Yemen. With us are two distinguished experts, Hamza Alshargabi and Ibrahim Qatabi. Mr. Alshargabi, give us an idea about the percentage of the Houthis to the total population in Yemen.
The militia has originated in Sada, and if we talked about the militia in pre-2011 context, we're not talking about more than 10,000 people. With everything, including the militants, the political line, and everyone who's involved in that circle. Afterwards, Ali Saleh managed to establish an alliance with them and has supplied them with his network of influence that are jumping in, not because they are agreed
within the government and basically leaving the country with no leadership or an effective government, just like the same thing that we see in Lebanon today, where they couldn't even agree on a president for about a year from now. And that's the way that Iran been functioning in the region, where they just built a system within the system with our militia that would somehow control the government but not be the legitimate government. That sort of threat is actually a real threat to Yemenis, and we've seen it across the country with the Houthi militia picked up the same slogans that were initiated in Iran and going from city to city and town to town in Yemen, alongside with the former president who thought that he somehow can use the Iranians and the Houthis to regain power. I think the threat is there. The support from Iran to the Houthis and the work with Saleh is there right now. So it's basically, make no mistake about that, it's there and it's damaging.
Okay, we'll get Dr. Hamza Alshargabi's point of view when we come back.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Are you going to start up a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 248-442-9292. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 248-442-9292. New Concept Products and Designs, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. For more information, visit newconceptproducts.com. 248-442-9292. It's never too early to get your child on the right track. From their first words to first grade, Dreamy Children's Center in Troy works closely with parents to provide an experience that goes beyond early education. The highly qualified and experienced staff use a variety of programs that can help nurture important personality traits like responsibility, independence, problem solving, motivation, and respect. They also have educational programs ranging from preschooling for infants, toddlers, transitional toddlers, and pre-K to Montessori-approved programs and bilingual curriculums for young children. They're open from 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., can provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner with snacks in between, and can also arrange for after-school pickup. Dreamy Children's Center in Troy is located at 37373 DeQuinder, just above 16 Mile Road, and can be found on Facebook at Dreamy Children's Center. Ask about the free preschool program. Call today, 248-680-9170, 248-680-9170.
I am Dr Atef Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNVK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion. We are talking about the situation in Yemen with two guests, but let me first take our caller on the line. Go ahead, introduce yourself, please, and go ahead.
Yes, this is Dr Atef Gawad. Thank you for taking my call. I have a kind of a comment and then two questions. The comment is, I believe the whatever remains of the Yemeni army and the Houthis are not capable of facing the Saudis. They're instead actually attacking the civilians in Aden and trying to take it over. And that's sad. The ball, I think, was in their field to end this war and go back to the negotiations table, and I still hope they do. So my question, the first one is, will the Houthis and Saleh have any role in the political scene in the future after the war ends? And the second question is, will Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries take Yemen into their union, to their Gulf countries, so this would not happen again? And thanks for taking the questions.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Alshargabi, would you like to respond?
I surely hope the Saleh and Houthis will not be represented anymore in any upcoming deals or government forms. Ali Saleh has proved time and time again that he's just a mere psychopath criminal, and there is no reasoning with such character. He has created of troubles in the country in the past 3 decades and even post-transition, although he was offered immunity. The Houthis, and since the beginning of this military campaign, they're being declawed. If the Houthis or the Zaydis in the country would participate in the political process after this is said and done, then that's not. This is okay. This has already happened in national dialogue. The problem is not sectarian here. The problem is when someone tries to shortcut the dialogue throughout force.
Okay, Mr. Qatabi, do you think the Houthis and the Saleh should be excluded from future political dialogue?
I think, as for Saleh, I think is completely done, and the only place for him is behind bars. This guy have committed massive crimes and massacres against Yemenis for the past 33 years, and mainly during the peaceful uprising in 2011, where his security forces have killed peaceful protesters. The numbers are in thousands. And also, the current situation in Yemen, the disaster that the country is going through, is mainly because of him. He's using his, as you might know, Yemen has the 3rd largest army in the Middle East, and most of them are loyal to him, and so he's using the army and security forces to basically currently destroying towns, and the disaster in Aden right now, the massacres that are committed against peaceful individuals and residents and Aden are committed by his security forces along with the Houthi militia. So I think for him it's a done deal. He's not going. No one is going to accept him to be part of the political life again. That's how he's not, being put behind bars. The Houthis, I think the Yemenis have a lesson. First, they allowed them to participate in the national dialogue and be part of the political life when they would just way in the caves of the northern part of Yemen and the state of Sa'da. But people, after the peaceful uprising, were trying to bring everyone to the table so they can have a say. But the mistake they did back then was to allow them to come to the table with their own guns. So I think any future participation for them in a political process, I think the first thing they have to do, and I think they must do, and I think they have to push them to do, is to lay down their arms and to hand all the heavy weapons they looted from the government institutions and the army before they even brought back to any table. And I think, and in addition to that, they have to denounce violence to achieve power or to gain power, and they have to lay down their arms before engaging in a political process. But the Houthis as a group, they have a choice to basically engage in a peaceful political process if they want to be part of the political process. But I don't think they will be accepted as a militia once again after they did what they did and driving and dragging the country to basically a chaotic situation and a civil war. So that's how I see it right now, and I think this is how it's going to play out going forward.
We have two calls. Let's go ahead with the first call. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Dr. Atef Gawad and your guest, good morning. This is Najib Habba from Detroit, Michigan. Dr. Atef Gawad, I will like an answer from your guest. I do believe there is a double standard why the Saudi Arabia government take an action now when a couple of years ago the ousted former president Ali Abdullah Saleh was removed from power, but Saudi Arabia right now taking an action for the ousted president Hadi. This is my first question. Why? Second question, Dr. Atef Gawad, is Dr. Al-Khariji mentioned Saudi Arabia campaign start to go and help our brother Yemeni, Saudi nation, Yemeni nation, we are brothers. My question is, what about if the government of Iran start a bombing campaign in the kingdom of Bahrain to help their brother Shiite over there? Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Okay, before we respond, let's take the second caller. Please go ahead, introduce yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I just need to make sure your guests understand, and I hope they understand, that Islam is one Islam. Islam is one Quran, one prayer, one Salah, one God. There is sections in Islam. There is madhahib in Islam. There is mazhab Shafi'i, Hanafi, Ja'fari. There is no Sunni and Shia in Islam. This is politics. And spinning out this politics of Islam is bad thing for all of us as Muslims. There is no Sunni. There is no Shia. Imam Ali accepted 3 Khalifa before him because it is a shawra bain al-Islam, bain al-Muslimin. There is no such a thing. There is a battle between Shahid Hussein and some Umayyads thousands of years ago, and Hussein became a martyr because he defended his point of view. But there is no such a thing. There is madhab. There is madhab Ja'fari, there is madhab Shafi'i, there is 5 major madhabs in Islam. But there is one Islam. And excuse me for raising my voice, because this is a disaster. That you're spinning this Shia, whatever, Sunni, and there is nothing like that. The Yazidis or the Zaydis are small sector. They are in Yemen, but they are prized to change the situation in Yemen. There is another section of Islam in Arabic Peninsula, which is Wahhabi.
Okay, sir. I think you made the point clearly. Let's get a break here, and when we come back, we will comment on our callers' questions.
قشات ميديترينيان ماركت بإدارة سهر قشات وأولاده يرحبون بالجالية العربية والكلدانية جميع أنواع المواد الغذائية، ألبان طازجة، الكرزات والبهارات الطازجة. داخل الأسواق مطعم ميديترينيان شيش كباب يقدم يوميا جميع أنواع الكباب، المقبلات العربية العراقية وصواني الكامبو المميزة. تفتح الأسواق من 8 إلى 9 مساء من الاثنين وحتى السبت، ومن 8 صباحا إلى 9 مساء يوم الأحد. تقع الأسواق على 32839 نورث ويسترن هايواي في مدينة فارمينغتون هيلز. لحوم حلال للجالية الإسلامية. لطلباتكم من المطعم كول 248-538-7855. That is 248-538-7855. قشة ميديترينيان ماركت، خدمة متميزة ومعاملة راقية. باتسيز للعرائس، أجمل مجموعة أزياء ومن أرقى دور الأزياء الأمريكية، إضافة إلى أكبر تشكيلة لفساتين لحفلات المناسبات ملكات الجمال ومن أشهر المصممين
David Tuter, David Bow, and McDougall Coucher.
أسعار مناسبة، خدمة متميزة، تصليح الملابس بمهارة فائقة. مصممة الأزياء باتسي بشير، خبرة أكثر من 34 عاما في عالم تصميم الأزياء. للمواعيد اتصلوا على 313-908-1393. يقع المحل على 5050 Greenfield between Ford Road and Michigan Avenue. Call 313-908-1393. باتسي بشير، علامة مميزة في عالم الأزياء.
I am Atef Gawad. Join me the first Friday of each month at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I will be discussing some of the most important issues and events in the Middle East live on America's Voice of the Arabs. WNVK 690 AM and WDMV 700 AM.
Welcome back to our discussion on Radio Baladi. We are talking about the situation in Yemen with our two distinguished guests, Hamza Alshargabi and Mr. Ibrahim Qatabi. Mr. Shargabi, I meant to ask you to comment on the accusation that Iran is supporting the Houthis in Yemen. And as you recall, our caller, Mr. Najib, objected to Saudi action in Yemen, and he also wondered if Iran should go ahead and bomb Bahrain to support its co-religionists in the country.
Well, there is a lot of evidence of Iranian support to the Houthis. First thing, most of the middle leadership of the Houthis have been trained in Lebanon and in Syria. And that is what they say. This is not something I'm trying to paint on them. They're very proud of it. They talk about it a lot. And I have known so many of them, and they have been saying this out loud and frankly. A lot of people who've been working in the military in Syria, fleeing after the revolution started, they have been talking about this as well, how Houthi fighters were trained in media, in intelligence, and in military action in Syria. When it comes to, I don't think I am in any position to recommend Iran to bomb any country. So I don't think that question should be directed to me. This question should be directed to the institutions in Iran, whether they would like to start a war across the Gulf. I don't think it's on me. And for better or worse, the Saudis and their coalition didn't ask me or consult me when they decided to bomb Yemen. However, the central difference here is there is an elected president in Yemen that has sent an official letter requiring the Arab League and the GCC to intervene, regardless of how strong these institutions are. But there is some sort of a legitimate leadership in the country that asks for intervention. So there is a totally different. If the Iranians would like to intervene in Bahrain, and they would like to do that, if there is an appetite for war, I'm not in any position to support or stop them. It's very strange that a person would ask me about that. So I think he should. If there is an Iranian embassy, he should go and ask there. So in Yemen, yes, the Iranians have been supporting one way or the other, and there is a very clear movement that has been happening between Iran, Hezbollah, and the Houthis since 2010. It's worthy to note that in 2010, Hassan Nasrallah said that they are gonna start attacking, or they're gonna start controlling the Red Sea. How would he do that? So putting one and one together makes the context clear. And the attack on the ground right now, the Houthis and the Ali Saleh forces are attacking the south. They're not attacking Saudi Arabia, which is very ironic. They're attacking the south just for one reason only. They want to control Aden, and they want to control the Gulf of Aden and Bab el-Mandeb area. So that is what they do. It's not something that I'm painting on them or painting on them. This is what their behavior is indicating.
Mr. Qatabi, some people say that Saudi Arabia's action in Yemen seeks to restore or to establish stability, and then you have others saying that the Saudi action, in fact, would aggravate instability in Yemen. What do you think?
Well, it could be both. My personal belief is that any military intervention is never the solution and never brings any stability to any country. But sometimes it's a way to protect civilians. When a disarmed group have no protection and they've been attacked by a militia, I think the international community has a responsibility to protect civilians. Just going back to the brother's question about Iran intervening in Yemen, let's be clear. I think it's completely obvious that Saudi is not declaring a war against one sect in Yemen, and I think if that was the case, then the vast majority of Yemenis will basically defend that group and go and also defend themselves against the Saudi. It is completely clear that they targeted a militia and military bases that basically were used to kill Yemenis. Look at the situation in Aden and Al-Dala, where the military forces that are loyal to former President Saleh and also Al-Houthis are destroying villages in the south and killing innocent people. And to say that Iran has to somehow come and engage in Yemen, the point here is the Zaydis in Yemen are not part of the Shia in Iran. That's one. And number two, Yemenis don't have Shia interests with Iran. There is almost non-existent relationship between both countries. There is no shared national security between both countries. And the only group, the only support that the relationship that Iran has in Yemen is basically with the militia that committed violence and war against the Yemenis. And the other side, Saudi and Yemenis, I'm not trying to justify the Saudis' targets of the Houthi militia, and I'm personally against war all the way. But Saudis and Yemenis, regardless of the relationship, there is a shared relationship. There is millions of Yemenis live and work in Saudi. There is a shared, basically, national security. The national security of Saudi is part of the Yemeni, and the Yemeni is part of the Saudi. So everything exists there, and it's an Arab country as well. And to be honest, Saudi is basically part of the problem in Yemen from day one, where they helped negotiated a deal that gave the former dictator immunity and avoiding basically accountability. For the past decades, they've been basically investing in a small group like the Saleh and the Ahmed families, leaving the Yemenis with basically nothing. They didn't invest in development in the country. They didn't build the schools and hospitals and roads. And instead they invested in certain groups and the militia that were going against the development in the country and against the Yemenis as a whole. So they part of the longest problem. They never accepted Yemeni to be part of the Gulf Cooperation Council. And so there is problems that existed by the Saudis, but I think right now it's clear that the Houthis are a threat to Yemenis, a threat to the national security of the Gulf countries, and a threat to the whole entire
Dr.
world.
Alshargabi, you have a strong record in the humanitarian area. How do you assess the humanitarian situation, the status of civilians in Yemen?
Currently, the country is under siege, is under embargo, and less and less daily needs are going to start disappearing. And the medical situation in Sana'a, Taiz, and Aden is disastrous. Specifically in Aden, the number of killed civilians is unmatched. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Doctors Without Borders have issued a call to let their logistics to be reestablished. They're running low in several essential drugs. So this is already just starting, both in the humanitarian and in the medical aspect, and it is going to escalate very badly in the upcoming week if this continued. And unfortunately, it seems that it is going to continue.
Mr. Qatabi, we have about 1 minute left for us. So briefly, would you comment on what some analysts are saying? They believe that the best solution for Yemen is separation, split the north from the south again.
I don't think that's the solution. I think that will create more problems, because Southerns are like the Northerns, basically different groups. They all, going against each other. And I think the problem in Yemen, it's never the land, it's never the separation, it's always the ruling part of the country. It's the system itself that existed and it was completely centralized. One group controlled the country. So basically, it's equal citizenship, is accountability, is built in a federal system that people have autonomy and have part of basically the national resources are distributed among all Yemenis. So I think it's not the land, it's the people, it's the group of people that have been controlling the lives of almost every Yemeni, the group that looted the country for decades. And I think it's the rule of law. So it's basically built in a modern system that people have equal access to, the system that is based on the rule of law and accountability, transparency, justice, equal citizenship. So that's the thing that I think Yemen needs to focus on. And I think the problem being always the regime, but not the people and not the land.
Mr. Ibrahim Qatabi, thank you very much. I also would like to thank our guest, Hamza Alshargabi, for your contribution. And I will see you the first Friday of next month. Have a good day.